Aku jalan ke kampus dulu kali ya.
Tapi emang di mana, Pak?
Di omah.
Wis rapopo.
Ini nanti kalau dia udah selesai dia keluar kan ya?
Iya,
Dia udah bilang gitu ya?
nggak bilang sih.
Oh, masanya malu aku nanti dilihat presentasiku.
Kenapa,
Nggak.
Pak?
Malu aku kalau dilihat sama dia presentasiku.
Pak Dwi, Pak Dwi, apa? Ini. Kohos.
27.
Oke, sip, thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, Mr. Abdurrahim, the Dean of the Agriculture Faculty.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. How are you, Mister?
But it's a yeah.
Agak putus-putus Pak suaranya Pak.
Okay.
Oke.
Angin berhembus kencang, membawa tenang di barat daya. Terbentang luas menghijau di tengah pulau di utara. Masih lestari tempatku dulu, berlari-lari mengitari. Takkan terlupa ramah budaya yang selalu jadi pemikat hati. Di sini Angin berhembus kencang, membawa tenang di barat daya. Terbentang luas menghijau di tengah pulau di utara. Masih lestari tempatku dulu, berlari-lari mengitari. Takkan terlupa ramah budaya yang selalu jadi pemikat hati. Di sini angin berhembus kencang, membawa tenang di barat daya. Terbentang luas menghijau di tengah pulau di utara. Masih lestari tempatku dulu, berlari-lari mengitari. Takkan terlupa ramah budaya yang selalu jadi pemikat hati. Di sini Angin berhembus kencang, membawa tenang di barat daya. Terbentang luas menghijau di tengah pulau di utara. Masih lestari tempatku dulu, berlari-lari mengitari. Takkan terlupa ramah budaya yang selalu jadi pemikat hati. Di sini Angin berhembus kencang, membawa tenang di barat daya. Terbentang luas menghijau di tengah pulau di utara. Masih lestari tempatku dulu, berlari-lari mengitari. Takkan terlupa ramah budaya yang selalu jadi pemikat hati. Di sini
Cek. Oke, kepada seluruh panitia bisa kita mulai.
Excellencies, honorable and distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the first conference, International Conference on Indigenous Knowledge for Sustainable Agriculture. Excellencies, honorable and distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Good morning and we convey warm welcome to Dean of Agriculture Fakultas Borneo Tarakan University, Mr. Abdul Rahim SP and SC PhD, Heads of Program Study of Agrotechnology, Agriculture Faculty Borneo Tarakan University, Heads of Program Study of Agribusiness, Agriculture Faculty Borneo Tarakan University, and also the Chairperson of International Conference on Indigenous Knowledge for Sustainable Agriculture, Mr. Juli Santoso, STPNS. We also would like to recognize and welcome to our honorable speaker, Mr. Elenito P. Bugawisan, PhD, from Southern Philippines, Agribusiness and Marine and Aquatic School of Technology, and also Associate Professor Jose Yanochi from Yibu University. Excellencies, honorable and distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us in the first International Conference on Indigenous Knowledge for Sustainable Agriculture, Wednesday, 13th of July, 2022. It's a great honor for Nurul Haidia as your master of ceremony for this meeting. The International Conference on Indigenous Knowledge for Sustainable Agriculture is an annual scientific conference that provides a unique platform for scientists, researchers, and professionals across multiple disciplines to share their research, advancement, and critical ideas to address the agricultural crisis. The conference was initiated by recognizing that agricultural problems require an interdisciplinary approach to reach a holistic solution. We hope that this event will be beneficial for us all and becomes a memorable one. Before we start our seminar, here is our national anthem, Indonesia Raya.
Indonesia
Now we would like to invite Ms. Nove Kurniatisari MPD to lead us for praying. Ms. Nove Kurniatisari, the time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Morning and greeting to all of us, ladies and gentlemen. For the blessing of our event this morning, let us pray to God Almighty. Allow me to lead the prayer in Islam. For our brothers and sisters who are not Muslim, please, you can adjust according to your respective religions and belief. Let's start this prayer with the reading of the Kitab Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Ya Allah, Ya Shakur. Today, Wednesday, July 13, 2020, I come before you right now and lift up the first International Conference on Indigenous Knowledge for Sustainable Agriculture 2022. We don't have hopes and dreams, but hope that your blessing will always be with us. Ya Allah, Ya Adam, I ask you for wisdom, understanding, and peace for those who will be attending. Make this international conference as a useful symbol, as a medium of sharing useful ideas, knowledge, and experiences of scholars, researchers, and students of various disciplines. May the conference be organized to be a benefit to our lives, broaden our knowledge, shine our ideas, and lead us to the successful person, which turn will boost the unity of our nation. Ya Allah, guide and bless our hearts and our minds with the light of your guidance. Impart supreme wisdom upon our activities. Help us to speak our minds clearly. Help us to listen to each other, respect each other, love each other, so that we are included to the blessed person. And give us strength and ability to focus. Please help everyone to do the best they can in terms of giving and receiving. Ya Allah, protect us from unintended temptation. Show us the right path and give us knowledge and strength to perform good things equally. Show us and make it clear the bad things and give us knowledge and strength to avoid. Ya Allah, you are the one who can fulfill our dua. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. والحمد لله رب العالمين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Ms. Nove, for praying. Now for the first remarks, we would like to invite the chairperson of this international conference, Mr. Dwi Santoso, STB MSc, to deliver his remarks and welcome speech. Please welcome Mr. Dwi Santoso.
Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And good morning. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let us express our gratitude, to the presence of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, who provide health and precious opportunity to be present and gather virtually in this Zoom meeting. The Honorable Mr. Abdul Rahim, PhD, the Dean of Agriculture Fakulty, Borneo Tarakan University. The Honorable, our great keynote speakers today. The first is Mr. Elenito P. Bugawisan, PhD, from Institute of Agricultural Technology and Entrepreneurial Studies, SPAMAS, Philippines. And we also have Associate Professor Kosei Yamuchi from Gifu University, Japan. and all participants from Indonesia, Japan, Philippines, and others. It is an honor for me to welcome you all to the first international conference on indigenous knowledge for sustainable agriculture. Today, Wednesday, 13 July 2022. I am Dwi Santoso, as a head of organizing committee, would like to convey some information about this conference. This conference is organized by Jurnal Japan Borneo and supported by Head of Faculty of Agriculture, Borneo Tarakan University. I wholeheartedly welcome all participants who registered in this conference. There are 125 participants, including 34 presenters from various universities, who will deliver the presentation at the parallel session. The presented article will be published in the ESPN proceedings. I expect this conference will run smoothly and enriching our knowledge to sharpen the ability to do good research, in particular for the future. I thank the organizing committee who worked very hard to make this conference happen today. We do apologize if there were technical problems or any hurdles during this conference. Thank you very much for your presence and participation. I sincerely hope you all will enjoy the whole agenda for today. Have a great day. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dwi Santoso, for your remarks. Now, about the next remarks, we would like to invite the Dean of Agriculture Fakulty, Borneo Tarakan University, Mr. Abdul Rahim, SPM, PhD, to deliver his welcome and officially open this event. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Abdul Rahim.
Okay, thank you. My sound is clear? Hello, test. My sound is clear?
Clearly enough, sir.
Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. The Honorable Vice Dean, Agriculture Faculty, Borneo University, Head of Bachelor Degrees, Department of Agrotechnology and Agribusiness, Head of Master Degree of Agricultural Science, then all of lecture and staff in Agriculture Faculty, University of Borneo Tarakan, especially for the first keynote speaker, Mr. Edinito Padas Dau, Bugisawan PhD, Mabuhay, in this conference. He is a Dean of Institute of Agricultural Technology and Entrepreneurial Studies, PAMAS, Philippines. Nice to meet you, and we hope a memorandum of understanding between Borneo University and PAMAS Philippines will be implemented. And I think so this is a start for collaboration for all aspects in academic. For example, research collaboration, student exchange, visiting lecture, and other activities. And I would like to second keynote speaker to Associate Professor Jose Yamauchi Sensei Hajime Maste. Itu Kotoshi ni Egra Sensei wa Gifu Daigaku ni Benkyou shimasu. Yoroshiku onegaishimasu. And we hope Gifu University give more opportunity to our staff for the joint collaboration for all academic activity too. And the last but not the least, I would like thanks to all the participants who has participated. Thanks for your time to attend this conference. Today, it is indeed great pleasure for me to address the opening speech on the first international conference, Indigenous Knowledge for Sustainable Agriculture. We know there are many terms of sustainable agriculture. I would like to quote one article by Richard Dosterhouse. The article title is Sustainability Farms, published in Journal of Soil and Water Conservation. He describes sustainable agriculture is farming system that are capable of maintaining their productivity and usefulness to society indefinitely. Such system must be resource conserving, social supportive, commercially competitive, and environmentally sound. Ladies and gentlemen, in this conference, the committee put two indigenous knowledge on the front of sustainable agriculture. According to the Mr. Chemistry and International Encyclopedia of Human Geography, indigenous knowledge is defined as knowledge which is spatially and or culturally context-specific, collective, holistic, and adaptive. Although it was previously largely ignored in the fields of development and conservation, indigenous knowledge is currently living a revival, and its incorporation into a development project is seen as essential. Based on those two terms, indigenous knowledge can play a key role in the design of sustainable farming system, increasing productivity while protecting and preserving the environment. Experience and local knowledge of certain community groups that form the basis for decision making in dealing with problem and challenge of agricultural development. Agrarian farmers as well as industrial society should be support sustainable agricultural development. In the last my opening speech, we know there are many best practices we can find in other region or location that create model for support of sustainable agriculture. We hope in this conference we can share information and knowledge about the effort of farmer, researcher, and all of components who is support of sustainable agriculture. Thanks for attention. Have a nice conference, and thanks to all committee, the first Ichiksa. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Ohayo gozaimasu. Thank you very much. Okay, moderator, time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Abdul Rahman, for your remarks. Now, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony for our seminar has begun. We continue to the presentation from our finance speaker, Honorable Mr. Elenico Bugawisan, PhD from Philippines, and Honorable Associate Professor Jose Yamauchi from Japan, with moderator with Lisa Putri, SP, MSc from Sulawesi Barat University. To our finance speaker, moderator, kindly start the session.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Nurul Hairiyah, Master of Ceremony. You opened the conference in a really good expression. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to convey my gratitude to Faculty of Agriculture, Borneo Tarakan University, for having me in this valuable opportunity to moderate today's conference. I am Dwi Ahrisa Putri from Faculty of Agriculture and Forestry, Sulawesi Barat University. I would inform to all of you that we strive to have this conference run on time. And before we move to keynote speakers' presentation sessions, it is necessary to inform some rules about this agenda. So I will give time 30 minutes sharply for each keynote speakers, and I'll remind you in the last 3 minutes. Then continue to question and answer sessions. And we're going to finish in 45 minutes for all questions that will be addressed to both speakers. And participants who has questions, you can use raise hand feature or type your questions in the chat box. Well, anyway, without any longer, let me introduce our first distinguished speaker from Philippines, Mr. Elenito P. Bugawisan, PhD. Hello, sir. It is nice to meet you. Can you hear me?
Yes, Tom, good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. So
Okay.
Thank you for this. Have a nice day to all.
Okay. Maybe I'll try to speak little Philippines. Magandang umaga. Is it correct to express good morning?
Yes, magandang umaga po, magandang umaga. Maayong buntag.
How to say it in English? Is it
Good morning.
Oh,
Good morning.
Okay.
In
you very much.
Tagalog, in Filipino,
yes,
that is
Tagalog.
magandang umaga.
Maybe I'll try
In our
to
dialect here
yeah
in Mindanao is maayong buntag.
to learn Tagalog in the future. Okay, I will introduce Mr. Elenito. Mr. Elenito studied in 3 different universities in Philippines. He holds Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, majoring horticulture in University of Southern Mindanao, then continued to Master of Science in Agriculture also in University of Southeastern Philippines. And he got his Doctor of Philosophy in Horticulture in Visayas State University. Mr. Elenito is currently work as a Dean in Institute of Agriculture Technology and Entrepreneurial Studies since 2016. And before that, he became the department chairperson in Agriculture Department from 2015 until 2021. And 9 years before that, he was a director in SPAMAS, Buhangian Campus. I'm sorry for maybe the misspelling, SPAMAS. Okay. We can see that I got the CV from Mr. Elenito. She really has many research and experience and publications with the field evaluation of 4 citrus species cuttings with drip irrigation system through balanced fertilization program. That's one of that. And then many extension programs such as with the Department of Agriculture in 2021, and then many trainings and seminar, that conference that he attended, and he got awards, and we have many informations from Mr. Elenito. Okay, maybe we will hear from the presentations later with many from his research. And Mr. Elenito, I will give you 30 minutes as the rundown from the schedule list, and I will remind you in 3 minutes, the last 3 minutes, and we will continue to the next speakers. Okay, maybe, are you ready? Or, sorry, we will play the video from Mr. Elenito. Operator, can you play the video? What happened? Okay. Is there any technical error?
Yes, can you just share the video which I sent, the pre-recorded video, because I have somewhat problem in the internet connection. Yes. Okay.
Oh, it will start, sir. Okay, maybe we will try to listen Mr. Elenito presentations. Okay, please.
Langsung.
Or maybe I'll try to help to share the video. Can you stop the share screen? Okay, I'll try.
Have a nice day to each and everyone. First, I would like to thank the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research, and Technology of Borneo University Tarakan Agriculture Faculty,
Is it clear?
especially to Dr. Abdul Rahim, for such an opportunity given to me to this international conference on indigenous knowledge for sustainable agriculture. By the way, I am Dr. Elinito P. Bugawisan, currently the Dean of the Institute of Agricultural Technology and Entrepreneurial Studies, or IATES, from Southern Philippines Agribusiness and Marine and Aquatic School of Technology, SPAMA. For sustainable agriculture, Philippine setting. On the proclamation of the Philippine independence in June 12, 1898, which gave the birth of the first Philippine Republic under the stewardship of the President Emilio Aguinaldo, several offices and agencies were being established. And one of these is the then Department of Agriculture and Manufacturing. It was created through the Presidential Proclamation last June 23, 1898. In 1901, a policy of diversification was adopted, to which gave emphasis on the development of other agricultural sovereignty, especially on the following commodities like rice and other basic commodities. This also includes fishing, forestry, and mining. At present, this agency known as the Department of Agriculture, or the DA, wherein all regional offices all over the country, Philippines, is being situated in order for the easy access of the farmers, fisher folks, and other target clienteles. Now, when we talk indigenous knowledge in the Philippines, this refers to the local knowledge being developed over the century under the experimentation and are passed orally from generation to generation. So this is the technology wherein the traditional farming system are present. This is what we call the zero mechanization, wherein farmers being survive and develop and cultivate their lands using their simple agricultural tools. It was also found to be important catalyst to sustainable development due to direct connection to resource management and conservation. On this level of resource management, utilization of indigenous material, like for example, the planting materials, indigenous planting materials, begins with the preservation of the soil fertility. Indigenous farming system in the Philippines is wherein the local community being accumulated from farmers' experience and practices through time. And this is what we call the monocropping system, wherein before farmers are used to plant only one commodity. So for example, corn, after harvesting corn, planted again corn. Or else it is rice, after harvesting rice again. So that is their mode of crop protection. Planting the same time of crop at the same period. No communities practice exactly the same farming strategies because indigenous knowledge arose from the community, unique history of survival. They don't have technology being followed. All they have to do is just to plant in order for them to survive and in order for them to have food for their own existence on their daily survival. Sustainable agriculture in the Philippines means it is replenishing the soil while minimizing the use of non-renewable resources, such as natural gas or minerals, or else, shall we say, this is the inorganic fertilizer. Now the integration of the organic farming, wherein farmers really utilize the farm waste and also the animal manures as their fertilizer to support the nutrient for the respective commodities being cultivated. They also engage in steps to ensure that our farmer produces flowers indefinitely without causing irreversible damage to the health of the ecosystem. Meaning to say, farmers are dependent on the natural flowering based on the season of a particular crop. They don't have any chemicals to induce and use to induce in order to flower such commodity. There are three indigenous knowledge for sustainable practices. Among those are rotational farming or shifting cultivation. This is what we call the crop rotation. So there are only many types of multiple cropping, wherein in crop rotation, they will now engage on planting leguminous and non-leguminous crop. So for example, on this first cropping, they planted corn, and after harvesting corn, they used to plant peanut or mung bean. So this is an alternate of non-leguminous to leguminous. This is one way of maintaining fertility of the soil to maintain the nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium that would be retained in the soil for the next cropping season. Agroforestry. The country now has a full implementation of this total land ban, wherein the current forestal area was being preserved in order to maintain its ecosystem and also to maintain a good climatic condition favorable for the farmers. Number three is the multi-cropping system. This is one way of planting 3 or more crops in a particular area. And like before, they used to plant monocropping, dependent only to one type of crops and dependent only to one type of crops for harvesting. Rotational farming, can see in the picture, so they planted leguminous crops They also planted corn and some other vegetables, wherein the family could really utilize and consume such harvest. And in excess to that, they could sell that in a market for additional income. Here in the other picture is the agroforestry, wherein a certain denuded mountainous area were being developed, planted with trees and planted with other cash crop, wherein 3 to 4 months they were able to harvest and to have also income to sustain their daily needs. There is some importance of indigenous knowledge in the sustainable development of the country. One of the important consideration to this is this contributes the poverty eradication, wherein farmers may not be anymore dependent to some assistance from the government, but they use to really cultivate their land with their simple technology. And this is one way of eradicating poverty. In every family, they have their own food to eat, and in order to sustain the daily existence. Conflict resolution. So the crimes are being prevented, especially robbery, wherein all of the population or the citizen in a certain community, they have already their own livelihood to maintain and to develop in order for them to survive. Number 3 is about food security. So government may not be such a big burden to supply the whole population of the citizen of the country due to this particular food security. Well, just recently with the pandemic that we are experiencing, not only here in the Philippines, but this is a world crisis wherein we're able to survive and ask some assistance from the government for our daily existence, especially for the food supply during the last pandemic and the current situation that we have, the different lockdowns being implemented by the different countries. Ecosystem, wherein the balanced ecosystem that we have, because planting some permanent crops, cash crops, and develop the forestal area, plant permanent crops, forestry development, there is already such balanced ecosystem wherein the environment is really suitable for farming, favorable for the farmers to really till their land and plant their favorable crops. Health. Once a certain family have the food to eat, expect a healthy family. If we have something to eat in a certain family, rest assured that a healthy family will really live happily. 6, serve as the foundation of the resilience of indigenous communities to the impact of climate change. We all know that not only here in the Philippines, we in the Asian country really experiencing this climate change due to some technology being implemented, due to a lot of conversion of our land from agricultural land to industrial land. And this is sad to say that a lot of farmers being affected to this. And the food supply also affected to a certain country. Especially on the last, the economic and the social activities. The economic situation may also be affected if the ecosystem, the food supply, the poverty is still currently experiencing in a particular country. How could the family, how could a certain citizen enjoy their life wherein they are facing poverty, facing economic crisis? So these are the importance of sustainable agriculture. This inverted pyramid or triangle, you may observe that part of this is the environment, the economy, and the society. So these three corners has its product for sustainable agriculture. When you say environment, the safe environment, a friendly environment, and a suitable environment for farming. You can engage any type of commodities since the environment is very suitable. The society, considering its peace and order, the responsible citizen, and the cooperation of its constituent within the society, may able for this economy to be stable and enough food supply. If all of these three important aspects present and being considered, we would really gain a sustainable agriculture. On the 20th and 21st century, we may also consider the education system, the country. Because education is very important towards sustainable development of a certain area or country. Here in the Philippines, one is the remote communities have already access to basic education. Currently, we have already established the Philippine government established its preschool, elementary, and even high school to the far-flung communities and remote communities, in which these young children may able to access the basic education. Number two is the implementation of this 2-year additional senior high school, wherein the student given such opportunity for additional learning process aside from this basic high school education. And much more, the revision and integration of the tertiary education on the college, especially the presence and integration also of the competency skills, wherein the graduates not just having a degree of such bachelor's degree, but also have a competency skills that they may able to learn and earn during their college days. Because if we try to compare the 20th century, the focus is, the mindset is within the teacher is really the focus of the student. But here in the 21st century, student is really the center or the focus of the learning. The learners. In times of pandemic, we are still on this shifting from face-to-face to virtual. For the last 2 years, we're able to have these virtual classes on the different platforms, wherein the remote communities experience problem on internet connectivity. Because this is one way of integration of our technology, particularly in agriculture, in the field of agriculture. Now, even that we have limited face-to-face, students be able to access some hands-on activities in the respective institution, especially in the real world of agriculture. They may able to hands-on the field activity and be able to perform the actual farm preparation on the different good agricultural practices to learn based on the degree that they wish to finish. Now, in the agricultural technology, I'd like to share with you for the sustainable agriculture since then. This is what we call the sloping agricultural land technology, known as SOLT, otherwise known as the contour hedgerow intercropping. This is an agroforestry technology. This is a system wherein hedgerows of fast-growing perennial nitrogen-fixing tree or shrub are being planted in a contour line, thus creating a living barrier that traps the sediments and gradually transform the sloping land to a terraced land. Because majority of our farmers are really tilling their land in some hilly areas where it is prone to soil erosion, where if this is totally eroded, they will not be able to cultivate, and they don't have areas to cultivate with. And how could they really survive? So this salt technology is one way of preserving the hilly lands to avoid soil erosion and at the same time to maintain soil fertility. Now this technology is being developed by the Mindanao Baptist Rural Life Center here in the country, Philippines, wherein they integrate a lot of technology which is adaptable to the farmers. So here's a model of this sloping agricultural land technology, wherein on the top, they develop the mini forest. Next level, they would plant permanent crop, say for example, coffee. The other one is seasonal crop that they could harvest around 3 to 4 months, like for example, mung bean. On the same level, they would plant permanent crops, so for example, citrus family. The next level is a leguminous crops, a nitrogen-fixing crop. There is permanent crops, another seasonal crops. So this is the model and the sequence of planting. Not just planting single crop or monocropping from top until this lower level. So if you have a piece of land, you'll be able to integrate that in a salt, and you have the multi-cropping system, wherein a simple farmer could really earn a lot or much, more than enough to sustain their families, and they could have another income from such commodities or plants that you're able to plant based on the salt technology. Another one is the organic agriculture or the organic farming in the Philippines. Organic agriculture has continued to grow substantially despite of the world economic crisis. It is now being viewed as an additional option to conventional or chemical agriculture, where there is already a clear evidence the increasing population would also need sufficient supply of food in order for us to sustain and survive. One of these alternatives is for a safe and healthy and free chemical, so there is such organic farming for sustainable agriculture. Now the government, the Philippine government support the organic agriculture in 2010 by passing the Organic Agriculture Act of 2010 or the Republic Act 116, which provides for its development and promoting in the country. So that's why the country develops organic fertilizer, wherein farmers could really develop this. They could make their own organic fertilizer using their farm materials, their waste in the farm, like fermented plant juice, just simply collecting the leguminous crops present in the farm and undergo its concoction to come up with fermented plant juice high in nitrogen. There is another this could be extracted and undergo its concoction, and this FFJ or the fermented fruit juice is also high in the potassium content. The oriental herbal nutrient, this is a mixture of some spices mixed with vinegar. This can be used as a pesticide, an organic pesticide. The fish amino acid, the vermicompost as a source of the African night crawler, wherein the waste material could be fed to our African night crawler, and this will be casting their waste and known as the vermicompost, the African night crawler. The vermity out of the vermicompost undergo its concoction and brewed it to extract its nutrient from the vermicompost, and is a product of vermity used as foliar fertilizer. The seaweed-based fertilizer known as the Capapicus, the drippings of that can be used also as a fertilizer, a foliar fertilizer, and at the same time an insecticide, an insect repellent. Organic agriculture benefits a lot on health, safe for the consumption, the safety for the health of the consumer, the safety also of the soil, wherein the beneficial microorganism will be preserved for balanced ecosystem. The biodiversity, much more on the sustainability and to the environment. So with this, the sustainable agriculture, using its indigenous knowledge in order to sustain and to survive a simple farming system, using our own planting material available in the field, waste material, come up with a simple organic fertilizer, an organic pesticide, with a simple technology. No less than farmers could really survive, and the country will really be supported. The farmers would really enjoy the life being a farmer. So these are the organic farming, the vermicompost, the green leaf manure, crop rotation, biological management. This is one way of maintaining and avoiding the existence of pests and diseases, to establish its immune system in a certain area. The manure, the bio-fertilizer, and so the waste of our animals' manure. Like for example, the cow, the goat, the chicken. Utilization of those manure is a big help to the farmers for a simple indigenous knowledge for sustainable agriculture. And lastly, if we don't get sustainability right in agriculture first, it won't happen anymore. It's a statement of Wes Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and may God bless us all.
Okay, thank you very much for the very interesting presentations that has been recorded from Mr. Elenito. And from that material that we can see and can hear that indigenous farming system in Philippines are local knowledge developed in community that accumulated from farmers' experience and practices through time. And Mr. Elenito talked about the sustainable agriculture. It means that replenishing the soil while minimizing the use of non-renewable resources such as natural gas or mineral ores, and indigenous knowledge systems contribute directly to poverty eradication, conflict resolution, food security, ecosystem, health, and serve as the foundation of the resilience of indigenous communities to the impact of climate change. And last, it's economic and social activities. It's really interesting to see that last quote from Wes Jackson: if we don't get sustainability right in agriculture, it won't happen anywhere. Okay, thank you, Mr. Elenito. It's really insightful for us to see how Philippines do and how Philippines force the like organic farming and sustainable agriculture. And we will move to first next keynote speakers. From Japan, Associate Professor Kosei Yamauchi. Are you there? Can you listen to me?
Yes.
Okay, hajimemashite. Ohayo gozaimasu.
Ohayo gozaimasu.
Hi. Professor Kosei Yamauchi, can I call you Yamauchi-san or Yamauchi-sensei?
Yes.
Okay, maybe I'll try to practice my Japanese again. すみません、申し訳ありませんが、私の日本語はそれほど流暢ではありません。日本に2回行ったことがあります。2011年と2014年はその時、愛媛大学の農学部でアグリビジネスは農業経済みたいは勉強しました。もう調査テーマはその時はムチャチャ園の運輸ミカの高規模サプライチェーンについての分析。そういえば安倍晋三さんも首相の死去に心からお悔やみ申し上げます。本当にショックしました。はい、日本とインドネシア、そして世界がいつも平和でありますように。はい。I just explained about my study experience when I was in Japan and express our deep condolences to the tragedy of former Prime Minister, as we know all. And I have read the curriculum vitae from Yamauchi-san. Can't open this. So, Kosei Yamauchi-san was born in Japan. I saw your date of birth. Maybe I don't have to mention it. And then his educational background from the Gifu University, applied biological sciences, and your PhD is from the same university in United Graduate School of Agricultural Science. And your his work experience from 2017 as an assistant professor in Gifu, okay, thank you, in Gifu University. And we can see from 2016, in 1 year, until 2017, he works in Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, overseas research fellow, Texas A&M University, and Japan Society for the Promotion of Science. And we can see there's so many experiences, and yeah, I got the many publications from Yamauchi-san, and we can see some of that best poster award, and that he got best oral presentation about, yeah, this is a very, yeah, kind of difficult research, yeah, bioactivity of polyphenolics compounds in B16 melanoma cells. Okay. All right, Sugi. The next presentation will be delivered by Yamauchi-san, with its entitled "The Mechanism of Bioactivity of Polyphenols." Imai daijoubu desu ka?
Yes.
Hai, dozo. Time is yours.
Thank you very much. So, for your good greeting in Japanese, I could understand clearly. Your Japanese is very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Saya Yamauchi dari Universitas Gifu. Saya adalah teman Egura. Saya suka sate.
Oh, hi.
Okay. Okay, I will share my presentation. No. Sorry. This one. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you giving me for the opportunity to make a presentation here. I'm Kosei Yamauchi at Natural Product Chemistry Laboratory on Gifu University in Japan. I'm studying about natural products. Firstly, I will introduce our laboratory. Gifu University is here. Central Japan. I think that's a nice place. We can go any place in Japan easily. Egura will attend our laboratory from October at Dr. Cole's. This is our pleasure to collaborate with him again. Firstly, I will introduce our laboratory. We found some compounds from Indonesian medicinal plants that improve human health. We have elucidated active compounds used for cosmetics, nerve stimulants, anti-obesity, anti-osteoporosis, and dementia-improving drug. Also, I have studied about anti-cancer agents from natural products. Cancer is one of the most devastating diseases that the number of patients is increasing year by year. Cancer is characterized by uncontrolled cell growth and metastasis. Metastasis is a phenomenon of cancer cells spread all around of the body. Metastasis is the most serious matter when treating cancer. For example, as shown in this graph, the survival rate of patients with metastasized cancer is very low. Therefore, inhibition of metastasis is the most major issue to overcome cancer. I will explain the mechanism of cancer metastasis. Cancer cells invade in blood vessels due to degradation of collagen by MMPs. Migration is moving the cancer cells, and the invasion is moving of cancer cells with the degradation of tissues. After moving into the vessel, cancer cells were combined with E-select chain. Then the cancer cells grow again, which causes metastasis. Quercetin was reported to inhibit metastasis on the in vitro and in vivo test about 20 years ago. Then I searched the migration inhibitory activity using quercetin derivatives. I will show the migration and invasion assay method. B60 melanoma was saved in insert and incubated with the sample for 24 hours. After removing the cells in insert, the cells were removed. Then, after removing the cells in insert, moving cells were stained. Then, the absorbance was determined to calculate the migration activity. This is a result of migration assay in B60 melanoma cells. Vertical line is the ratio of migration. Quercetin glucoside shows no activity. 2 inhibited migration, 3 shows no activity. 4 inhibited migration, however, 5 and 6 shows no activity. Quercetin, which is a positive control, inhibited migration like this, and 7 decrease the migration activity in a dose-dependent manner. Furthermore, 8 inhibit migration more potent than 7 and quercetin. As a structure-activity relationships, 3 or methyl quercetin shows high anti-migration activity, and 4' methyl groups stimulated activity. On the other hand, 7 or methyl group shows no effect for the anti-migration activity. We understand quercetin derivatives inhibit migration of B60 melanoma. However, we didn't understand how does it act to the cells. Then we try to isolate and identify the protein that can interact with quercetin derivatives to clarify the mechanism of the anti-metastasis activity by pull-down method. After identification of target proteins, in vitro assay test, docking simulation, vehicle interaction, and NMR interaction tests were determined. We need to introduce the first base matrix 7 position of quercetin derivatives, which is not involved in the anti-metastasis activity in the structure. As shown in this slide, we could prepare 6 probes. These probes were used to isolate target proteins of flavonoids. After these interact with the lysate of B60 melanoma cells, the combined and precipitated proteins were electrophoresized. This is a range. This range is a total protein. The next range is a protein combined with control beads. And these range are proteins combined with the flavonoid beads 1 to 5. We can see some proteins that combine with flavonoid beads without interacting with the control beads. Comparing to the number of proteins on the flavonoid beads, the proteins combined with 5 beads were decreased. The flavonoid bead 5 shows no hydroxy group at 3 position. This result suggested that 3 hydroxy or 3 methyl group was important to interact proteins. And as you can see here, the beads 4 combine the completely different proteins comparing to the other beads. 4 binds with beads at 3 position. It was indicated that 3 position was important for the interaction of the proteins. These proteins were cut off and decomposed by trypsin. The peptides were detected by Margitov mass. and identified by the database of peptide mass spectrum. Among the isolated proteins, we identified a protein as MMP1. MMP1 plays an important role in the invasion of cancer cells into blood vessels that I showed you before. The results suggested that the methylquercetin may inhibit the invasion of B-cell melanoma by interaction of MMP1. MMP1 also relating to migration. The extracellular matrix combine cancer cells with each other. However, MMP1 degrades the matrix with that results in separate cell and induce migration. Then the MMP1 assay was conducted using quercetin and 3-O-methylquercetin that called 3-MQ. The results indicated that quercetin and 3-MQ inhibited MMP1 activity, and the activity of 3-MQ was stronger than that of quercetin. We investigate the binding mode using docking simulation, Biacore interaction test, and NMR next step. To estimate the binding site of 3-MQ on MMP1, docking simulation was performed. Here are the results of simulation for 3-MQ and quercetin. Both quercetin and 3-MQ interact with MMP1 at the same location. And this is an enlarged view at the 3-MQ binding site. Orange atom is a zinc, which is the active site of MMP1. The results suggest that 3-MQ and quercetin bind around zinc ion on active site. The binding energy was minus 7.17 kilocalorie per mole on quercetin and minus 7.89 kilocalorie per mole on 3-MQ. And the energy of 3-MQ was lower than quercetin. That showed the binding of 3-MQ against MMP1 was stronger than quercetin. 3-MQ showed stronger MMP1 free activity than quercetin, so the docking simulation results support the result of MMP1 assay. Furthermore, I investigated the binding mode using Biacore and NMR test. I tried prepared MMP1 by the transformation using E. coli. After preparation of plasmid, it was transformed, and it was confirmed by agarose gel electrophoresis and sequence. The E. coli was cultivated using two types of medium, LB medium and M9 medium. M9 medium was used for 15 nitrogen labeled MMP1 for NMR measurement. The E. coli was collected and homogenized. After washing the pellet, it was solverized by Urea buffer. Then MMP1 was purified using ion exchange chromatography. After dialysis, it was activated to use Biacore and NMR measurement. This is a result of molecular interaction analysis by Biacore. 3-MQ and quercetin showed the interaction with MMP1, and KD value was 21.7 and 51.8 micromolar respectively. The lower KD value means a strong interaction against proteins. KD value of 3-MQ was lower than quercetin, so maturation of 3-O position enhanced the interaction. This result also supports the result of our MMP1 assay and docking simulation. The Biacore test was conducted using the buffer without zinc and calcium ion, which is active site of MMP1. The interaction between 3-MQ and MMP1 was disappeared by the absence of calcium and zinc ions. That suggested that the metal ions were essential for the interaction. 15 nitrogen labeled MMP1 synthesis in E. coli was achieved. This is a purified MMP1, and this is an NHHS QC NMR on MMP1. The NMR data were assigned according to the reference. The chemical shifts were plotted with or without 3-MQ. and the shift change were investigated. As you can see here, the chemical shift of E99 was changed. This is glutamic acid 99. And the chemical shift of L112, W103, D94, M136, and 896 were changed by adding 3 MEQ like this. The shift change were plotted here. The bar were colored as the degree of shift change, such as purple, red, yellow, and light blue. You can see that E99 showed the highest chemical shift change. That means 3 MEQ interacted along the amino acid residue in MMP1. The chemical shift change were mapped in 3D structure of MMP1. The shift change were expressed as a purple, red, yellow, and gray in MMP1. The chemical shift change were observed along the zinc and calcium ions. It showed 3 MEQ interact with zinc and calcium ions. E99 showed the most significant chemical shift changes, so it located between the calcium and zinc ions. The chemical shift change might be influenced by the 3 MEQ interacted by both calcium and zinc ions. The NMR result was compared with the docking simulation. In the docking simulation, 3 MEQ bind with MMP1 around M136. While the NMR data indicated that 3 MEQ interact with MMP1 on the different position from docking simulation. The NMR data showed that 3 MEQ could interact all metal ions in MMP1. As a summary, quercetin derivatives interact with MMP1 around the metal ions and inhibited activity that result in inhibiting cancer migration. One of the mechanisms of the inhibition of cancer migration by quercetin derivatives was illustrated in this study. Next, I searched the next MMP1 inhibitor from natural product. We focused on Camellia reticulator, which is used as a Chinese medicine. The plant extract have been reported to show anti-cancer, anti-hepatic, and anti-inflammatory effects. We isolated the condensed tannin from this plant. I will show the separation method of condensed tannins. C. reticulator stem powder was extracted by 70% ethanol and extracted by hexane, chloroform, ethyl acetate, and butanol. Water part was obtained to separate condensed tannins. Water fraction was separated by LH-gel to obtain W fraction 5-6 and 5-2, which is condensed tannins. The structure were analyzed by HSQC NMR and choices. Condensed tannin showed inhibitory activity against several kinds of enzymes such as alkaline phosphatase, trypsin, amylase, separase by causing protein aggregation. However, the interaction between proteins and the tannin was not illustrated yet, so we considered that the condensed tannin may also inhibit MMP1, and the interaction between MMP1 and condensed tannin will be able to clarify. The condensed tannin from C. reticulator were analyzed by HSQC NMR and choices. Choices is a method to identify condensed tannin by analyzing the HPLC of degraded product of the tannins. This analysis showed that through the composition of CT1 and CT2 like this, they showed a similar composition, while the mean degree of polymerization was different. CT1 showed about 4 polymerization and CT2 showed about 2. We compared the MMP1 inhibitory activity of CT1 and CT2. This is the MMP1 inhibitory activity of CT1 and CT2. The IC50 value of CT1 and CT2 were 30.9 and 181.5 micromolar respectively. This result indicated that the inhibitory activity of CT1 was 10 times stronger than CT2. And this is the aggregation rate of MMP1 and the confidence tannins. CT1 showed aggregation of MMP1, which suggested that the inhibitory activity of CT1 was caused by the aggregation. And the degree of polymerization was important for the MMP1 inhibitory activity and the aggregation effect. This is a result of docking simulation between MMP1 and condensed tannin CT1 and CT2. CT1 and CT2 interact with MMP1 at a similar position, like this. And CT2 interacted with MMP1 at a lower binding energy than CT2. That shows CT2 interacted with MMP1 stronger than CT1, which is an unexpected result. Almost all atoms in CT2 were interactive with MMP1. On the other hand, about half of the atoms didn't interact with MMP1 in case of CT1. The non-interactive atoms may interact with the other MMP1 that cause cross-link between MMP1s that lead to aggregation. This is a chemical shift change in 3D MMP1 by treatment of CT1. CT1 interact with MMP1 without involving the zinc and calcium ions, which is active site. And this is a comparison of binding position between CT1 and CT2 on MMP1. The two condensed tannin interact with MMP1 on a similar position, while the binding position of CT1 were wider than CT2. The wide interaction may cause cross-link of MMP1 that lead to the aggregation. Finally, I made MMP1 aggregation model from an NMR result. CT1 made cross-link between MMP1 through the binding position of CT1. That was clarified by HSQC NMR. The aggregation inhibit MMP1 activity. This is the first study to elucidate aggregation mode of condensed tannin and elucidate the mechanism of inhibitory activity of condensed tannin against MMP1. That's all. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Otsukare-sama deshita. Arigatou gozaimashita. What an insightful presentations from our second speakers about the mechanism of bioactivity of polyphenols. All right. From now on, I open the chance for participants who want to ask questions to both of speakers. And please ask in short and detailed questions. I welcome 3 participants first to ask questions. We will consider about the time. So I will invite 3 participants to ask questions. You can use the raise hand feature or type your question in the chat box. Is there any questions for Mr. Elenito, maybe, or okay. Mr. Jehan Ramdhani Haryati.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Jehan. I'm from Universitas Brawijaya Malang. I would like to ask a question to Dr. Olenito. I will ask about the agroforestry in Philippines. Recently, my research is about coffee agroforestry, and when I'm studying my research, I found that there is a coffee agroforestry also in Philippines, and they have like community problem with some company, Nespresso. It's the project called Nestle and Nespresso that they buy the coffee beans from the farmers, but they become monopoly for the coffee bean. So how's your opinion about this problem that occur mostly also in other East Asian countries? I think it's in Indonesia also face the same problem. Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, Mr. Elenito, can you hear? Is it clear for you? Okay, maybe I will try to compile first the questions and I will give a chance to the speakers. Okay, the next questions. Is there any question? Okay, Mr. Muhammad Adiwena, please.
Okay, is that clear, my voice?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I wanna ask to Mr. Kosei. We know that many plants produce secondary metabolic, but some plants are not. Can we stimulate the plants are not produce metabolic secondary to produce metabolic secondary, so we can consume many plants with many metabolic secondary that can make us more healthy. Is that clear?
Okay.
So you mean that, so how to increase the secondary metabolites to consume, or is it clear?
Okay. Can we stimulate a plant to produce more metabolic secondary? That's the main question.
Oh, that's the point.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you from Mr. Adiwena. Okay, the next question. The third question. Or maybe is it enough for now? We'll try to head into the speakers and maybe we continue later to the next session. Or is there any one questions more?
Okay, can I ask? Excuse me.
Okay, Miss Andriana.
Yeah.
Okay, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Diana. So let me ask to the Kose, Professor Kose. Okay, one question from me. There is called MP1. So, and MP1 is inhibitory activity of CT1 and CT2. So maybe MP1, as I know, is the protein metric metalloproteinase. So it's like an enzyme on the collagen. It's like a protein such as collagen protein, if I'm not wrong. So MP1 is inhibitory activity of CT1 and CT2. Maybe could you please explain about why MPP1 must be inhibitor? They have inhibitory activity of CT1 and CT2. What the meaning of CT1 and CT2, and what the purpose of inhibitory activity of MPP1? Is it clear?
Okay.
Yes, I understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Andriana. Okay, maybe we'll try to ask the keynote speaker to answer the questions. The first one goes to Mr. Elenito. It's about the agroforestry in Philippines. Maybe the case of the research from the from Jihan from Brawijaya University. her research about the coffee agroforestry and related to community problem with some companies like she mentioned, like Nestle and other companies. Maybe she wants to know what is your perspective about that.
Yes, okay, thank you very much, Ms. Samdani. And for that particular concern, especially on the concern of agroforestry, well, actually, that is one of the combination for the agroforestry here in the Philippines. It is on the development of the upland areas wherein coffee is being encouraged to be planted. But in just like what you have mentioned, that Nestle Philippines, no, I address that Nestle Philippines, I may mention the name of the company, which also ruled out all over the country, all the world, worldwide in production of coffee and producing also supplying those instant coffee. Wherein that particular concern on the term monopolization, demonopolize, especially on the price itself and down to marketing, I would really agree with that, because what Nestle did, they organized farmers in the upland area wherein the coffee is really suitable for planting. But then their agreement is they will provide the planting material because they have that certain variety wherein the quality of the coffee being processed is the one which is being required by the respective company. So first is the planting material. They are the one producing the planting material. Then second is the good agricultural practices, or in short, the technology. So wherein they give the technology from planting, fertilization, pest and disease control, harvesting down to post-harvest. So in short, so they are also the one in charge on the marketing. So they are the one buying such quality of the beans coming from the farmers. So in terms of the price, they have a set of price per kilo, wherein that would also be on the marginal level for the farmers. But that is only in some cases, not all, no, not all being covered by Nestle all over the country here in the Philippines. In our area here in Mindanao, particularly in Davao region, so Nestle Philippines have not yet penetrated. Farmers here, the IP, the indigenous people here in Davao region are not much here, particularly in Davao Occidental, in our province. So farmers are really cultivating the certain Coffea robusta, no, the variety Coffea robusta, which is the native one, and they also sell. There's no such monopoly. They sell on those coffee bean buyer based on the prevailing price on the current situation. So that's why they are free to sell their processed product or their beans, coffee beans, to respective coffee buyer based on the selection of the price itself on the country, but not much on the Nestle. But for Nestle, so those farmers having a contract, contract or a memorandum of agreement for the Nestle, so they don't have any other choice in which they will really sell their product or their coffee beans to the Nestle Philippines. So that's why there is such somewhat comparison to our farmers who are really engaged or tied up in a certain company, especially Nestle Philippines, known to be the world producing coffee, instant coffee, and some other variant. So for that matter, okay. So I think that's my idea. But in terms of the development of the agroforestry and preservation of our forestal area in here, since then the previous president of the country, the late then President Benigno Aquino, so there is already a law on the total log ban. So that's why now our denuded areas have been already started to recover based on the different sustainable agroforestry development program in the country. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Elenito. What about Jehan? Is it really clear for you?
Yes, it is really clear and helped me to improve my side about coffee agroforestry, especially in the Philippines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, next questions from Mr. Adiwena to Kosei-san.
Yes.
Yamauchi-san, sorry. Okay, can you answer and also to Miss Andriana?
Okay, thank you very much for your questions. So first question, so how to increase the secondary metal-wise so for culture. So I think this is a management of growth of the plants, and I think it's needed to improve the fertilizer of the plant. But actually, the study about the cultivating and increasing the secondary metabolites is not studied enough yet. So this is the very important matter, but it's difficult to study now. So I think I would like to wait for the study. Is it okay?
Okay, thank you very much.
And the second question, so CT1, the molecular weight of CT1 is higher than CT2, right? It's double, so that the molecular weight is important for the activity. And the condensed tannin CT1 has a 4 degree of the polymerization, 4 polymerization, and CT2 has a 2 polymerization. And if it aggregates the proteins, the 4 polymerization is needed. So it's make a cross link between MMP1 and MMP1, so that inhibit MMP1. And as I mentioned in the presentations, MMP1 is relating to the cancer metastasis. So I think this condensed tannin also affect for the metastasis. And MMP1 is also involved in the collagen. So that I think it may be used for the cosmetics to protect the collagen as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Yamauchi-san. What about the participants from Miss Adriana?
Okay, enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we move to the chat box. Okay, I see there is someone who typed in kanji. Is it students or Abdul Razak? Are you there? If I'm not mistaken, watashi no namae wa Borneo Tarakan daiga kuno Abdul Razak desu. Kono digital jidai ni oite nihonjin wa dono yo ni shite jimoto no chie wo shite iru no deshou ka? So he asked about how in this digital era, how to keep the indigenous knowledge. Maybe that's the question. Is there Abdul Razak here? Because he types in kanji. Okay, maybe Yamauchi-san, can you answer the questions? This is quite general for you.
Okay, I don't understand the knowledge. What kind of knowledge to keep in the place?
Okay.
I don't understand the meaning of the knowledge. So to keep in this area.
Okay, maybe this question is not really clear. I am mentioning the name, but he didn't come up. Okay, thank you. We move to next questions from Dwi Santoso. Okay, the head of committee. The questions for Mr. Elenito, system of education in 21st century in Philippines is revision curriculum to tertiary education, wherein the integration of competency skills. Okay, text. And what is the essence of the curriculum revisions? Was the revision made related to indigenous knowledge for sustainable agriculture? Okay, can you catch the question?
Yes, okay. So I have already, with the concern, thank you very much, Sir Due Santoso. for that concern. Actually, here in the Philippines, in the higher education institution, in the tertiary education, so we used to have a curriculum revision, and just recently here, in this prior for the opening of the first semester, we are advised to revise the curriculum. And the purpose of that, especially in our Bachelor of Science in Agriculture and the rest of the program, adjusting on the level of the general first, the adjustment of the general education subject. What are those general education subjects? Those are the basic one. Since the offering of the senior high school or the K to 12 here in the country gives such an avenue for those basic education subjects move to the senior high school. Now, those subjects will be carried by the higher education institution is being replaced. So that's why there is a need for the revision of the new curriculum. Second, it's about the technical level, because you are asking on the technical competency skills. This right. Here in the country, we have this Technical Education Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, wherein our student they will be undergoing in the first year level, second year level, the different competency skills, like for example, in C1, agricultural crop production, in C2, animal crop production, in situ horticulture, so in situ ruminant production, so organic agriculture, in situ organic agriculture. So those are the competency skills which is being added or integrated to the program, that right after the graduation, not just having the transcript of record, but also they have the competency skills on this level of competency. And aside from the country, which is also requiring the professional regulatory commission, which is the board examination. So in line with the sustainable agriculture, yes, there is such sustainable development program integrated on the subject, wherein the student could also given highlights to that outside after finishing the career program. So he has or she has or he has already a knowledge on such development, not just on the technology or on the science related, but on the integration of the sustainable agriculture, especially for research and extension competency of our students and our future graduates. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the nice answer, Mr. Elenito. Okay, the next questions come from Nia Suryana, Miss Nia Suryana. Again to you, maybe most of people in here is really interested in your presentation or your research. Okay, sustainable agriculture is not only a matter of technology or infrastructure, but also human behavior. How to change human behavior to implement sustainable agriculture? What do you think?
Yes, that's definitely correct. So when we transform, when we do as a facilitator of change, we cannot just change because of technology. We cannot just directly integrate the knowledge of our learners direct for the technology, but instead we start on the basic, which is on the behavior. It's useless for our technology to be implemented and to be performed, but the behavior and the readiness of our target beneficiary would not really be acceptable. So in this case, extension has a great rule for this extension aspect. So one way is the development of the behavior, especially on the system wherein we will not directly engage on the technology, but instead on their participatory approach, how they really interested or their level of interest to certain technology for them to follow and to apply it based on to help in the future for their livelihood. So basically, we give them such training, not directly for the technology, but instead for how to change human behavior to implement sustainable agriculture. So it is not click transformation. We cannot transform the behavior of a person by just merely clicking it or just merely a second, but it takes a process. So we need also a series of process for those learners, target learners, for us in order for them to really accept the technology where they wish to really. But the most important thing is the readiness and the acceptability of the technology prior for the transformation of their behavior. So in order for us to have a sustainable development for a certain community. So this is one way of empowerment. We could not really empower them without this prior for the human behavior transformation.
Thank you very much. Again, to Mr. Elenito from Muhammad Isnur Al-Karni Akis. I think this is my friend. Are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, his questions to Mr. Elenito again. He said, thank you for the great presentations. So there are 3 indigenous knowledge practices, namely the first is rotational farming or shifting cultivations, agroforestry, and multi-cropping system. Is there a shifting cultivation system in the Philippines?
Okay, thank you for that another concern again. So thank you very much, Ma'am or Sir Muhammad Inzor. So with your concern as to the presentation of mine on the 3 indigenous knowledge practices, the rotational farming or the shifting cultivation, the agroforestry, the multi-cropping. So your question, is there any shifting cultivation system in the Philippines? I would really answer you yes. There is such, because before, as I mentioned in my presentation, that farmers used to have this very conventional, the monocropping. They used to plant single crop. After harvesting such, plant the same crop. So one of the problem that on that level is the fertility of the soil, because commonly some of the majority of those crops are non-leguminous, wherein they are very useful, not totally useful. No? So they used to consume and utilize fertility of the soil because of this non-leguminous community, which they used to plant. Like for example, corn. No? So in this level, so there's already a transformation wherein farmers have already given technology for shipment of farming system. So there is such rotation, crop rotation. So first cropping, they used to plant leguminous, the other one is non-leguminous, and here comes another leguminous. So in that way, so soil fertility would really be preserved for the next generation or for the next season of crop. So in order to minimize the application of the fertilizer and also the integration of the organic farming, the utilization of our waste material. So the kaingin system of burning, burning our slash weeds and other unwanted weeds or unwanted grasses. So that's one way, because that is very easy. Just only burning in just a couple of a minute, all of those will be gone. So, but then we don't know that there is such negative impact to the soil on the level of fertility. So this time, they used to maintain and have its application of mulching with our waste material, in addition to the soil fertility. So multi-cropping is also one, because in this level, we will no longer be occupying more than 100 hectares, but we are somewhat occupying a matter of 100 or 200 square meter, or simply half hectare or 1 hectare. So one way of this is intensive planting of a small piece of land by multi-cropping system, wherein you have your cash crop, you have your permanent crop, you have your vegetable, you have your banana, and you have also developed your agroforestry. So in that way, you have already a sustainable agriculture development. So that is one of the practice here in the country, Philippines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for the answer, Mr. Elenito. Okay, next questions will be addressed to Yamauchi-san from Agni Sinta Putri. She is from Mulawarman University, and she said that hope that you remember her, that already met in IPB event 2017 and also in GIFU. Very nice presentations. Actually, is working with essential oil together with Prof. Alin. She said, okay, what is the question? She is really interested in isolating the compound from essential oil there is an essential oil produce plant in our project that has good bioactivity. What do you think about it? Is there any effective method to isolate the compound, maybe a single compound from essential oil? Thank you very much. Can you catch the question?
Yes, thank you very much, Pipit. I remember you say hello to Aline, Professor Aline. Thank you very much for your question. So your question is about the isolation of the essential oil compounds. So we usually use the GCMS for the analysis of the essential oil compounds. And if you would like to isolate the compound, we use the silica gel column chromatography. So silica gel is easier to separate the essential oil, but as you know, the compound structure in the essential oil is very similar. In case it may be difficult to completely separate, but if it has a hydroxy group or other moiety, you may be able to isolate that compound. But so totally, it's maybe difficult to isolate each compound. So that's we use the GCMS. Is it okay for the answer?
Okay, thank you very much. Is there Agni Sinta in here or? Okay. Okay, maybe that's the last questions. If there are any questions that participants wants to ask to the keynote speakers, we still have time maybe. What about the committee? I thought we will end to 11:30. We still have time? Okay, is there any questions to Mr. Elenito and Yamauchi-san? Maybe there's no one left. Okay. Okay, we still have time. Or is that enough? Okay. All right, we're coming to the end of the keynote speaker sessions and question and answer. And thank you very much for the enthusiasm from the participants. And also I said again, thank you very much for the keynote speakers. Mr. Elenito, thank you very much. And Kosei Yamauchi-san, thank you very much. Otsukare-sama deshita, arigatou gozaimashita. And participant who still attending this meeting, thank you. And that's the wrap from the presentation sessions. For the next agenda, I return to Master of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Now we go to the photo session. It's all participants activate the camera. Please.
Okay, come in.
3, 2, 1. Okay, next. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you for all the participants. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we continue to our parallel session, we will have lunch break for 2 hours. Then we will start the parallel session at 1 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Elinu and Koshi Sensei and Moshi Sensei. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.